Great, we are here tonight in Town Hall at Lenox to convene the Lenox Board of Selectmen's meeting on Wednesday, October 20th at 6 p.m. This is our regular meeting, and we're going to convene a joint meeting with the Planning Board to appoint a new member.
With that, Madam Chair, I move to convene a joint meeting between the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board.
Second.
Yeah, that's all we're doing right now.
Super.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sure. Yeah, you guys should be able to vote on it too.
We're here.
Okay, here we are with our joint meeting to appoint a new member. We have a single application before us this evening. It is from Susan Lyman of 28 Schermerhorn Park. She had a letter addressed to Ms. Kieber of the Planning Board, and I'd be happy to have you. Okay, I will be happy to run this down. Ms. Lyman expressed her interest to fill a vacancy on the Planning Board. This vacancy will be filled until the next meeting, in the next town meeting, in the next election, which will be in May of 2022. She has served previously as a former chairperson and member of the Lenox Zoning Board of Appeals. She's a licensed attorney in Massachusetts and New York, now retired from New York, has been a resident of Lenox since 1975, and was originally born in Berkshire County, and is interested in maintaining the character of the town by providing access to affordable housing for families and supporting responsible growth. I found her letter to be compelling, and I'd like to hear from the Planning Board.
Why
and
don't I
from
make
other
the
members.
motion first and then...
Sure.
Okay, so Madam Chair, I move to approve the appointment of Susan Lyman as member of the Planning Board effective immediately. Said appointment to expire after the annual town election on May 9, 2022.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
This is Pam Kieber, 25 Newland Avenue. I'm chair of the planning board. Speaking personally, I'm thrilled with the application. I think Sue will make a great addition to the board, given she was very active and was chair at one point of the Zoning Board of Appeals, so she's very familiar historically with the zoning bylaw and how it's applied. In addition, she is a licensed attorney, a practicing attorney, and since the planning board pretty much literally writes laws, it will be great to have her legal expertise as part of the team. Again, wholeheartedly, very thrilled with this application.
Anyone else?
I obviously know her for a long, long time. Very intelligent, good person. I'm glad she's doing it, yeah. Good choice.
Certainly thank her for stepping up.
Yeah, I second that. Yep.
Yeah.
She's, in the past, often asked very thoughtful questions in tricky situations that have arisen in town. I can think of one particular meeting in the auditorium where she asked some awful good questions that helped everyone think about whatever the issue was at the time in, more comprehensive ways. So I think we'll be happy to have her join us.
I wanted to add, Sue has attended probably 3 or 4 of our meetings since we first spoke with her about her interest. And I just want to be clear, we informed her today she did not need to be here at the select board meeting, and she actually had work going on. So her lack of appearance here doesn't say anything except that we told her she didn't have to be here.
Great. Thank
I
you
mean,
very
she
much.
still wants to apply after having come to several meetings.
So far, so good. I think she thinks it's interesting.
Well, unquestionably, she's very qualified. I think she's a terrific person. And I think I'll take the opportunity to make the greater point that we as a town are very lucky when people step up and volunteer for difficult positions across the board, whether planning board, ZBA, select board, school committee, whatever it might be. So, thank you for volunteering to be on what's not an easy board, because there is a lot of work. You guys all work very, very hard, and it's much appreciated. And I think, I hope that this is a continuing example of some of the recent applications that we've had, so good job.
Great, so we have a motion and a second. I would entertain a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent, it's unanimous for the planning board and the select board. Thank you for attending this evening. I appreciate it, and now do we need to close this joint meeting?
I actually have to, yep. So Madam Chair, I move to, excuse me, it seems very, Madam Chair.
Actually, we need to take a roll call vote
Oh, thank you, we need to take a roll call vote for the vote
for the
entirely.
appointment, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, let's do that.
Thank you very much. All right, Kate McNulty Vaughn.
In favor, aye.
Pam Keever.
Aye.
Tom Delasco, aye. Jim Norwood, yes.
Dave Rhodes, aye.
Mary Beth Mitz, aye.
Neil Maximilian, aye.
And Ed Lane, aye.
It's official.
So Mary Beth, do I just need to tell her she needs to go and get sworn in by Carrie, and then
Correct.
she's on the board?
Exactly.
And she
Yep.
runs for re-election, she has to formally run in May.
Yep.
In May, she'll do the signature thing and run, but
Okay.
until now, it's just being sworn by
And I
Karen.
believe the term ends in 2025, so it's a nice long term.
Great. It would be great for, and we would encourage other people to run, should they be interested as well. Because as Neil mentioned, it's really important that we have people that are willing to step up for these positions, and we welcome anyone to help the town administer many different boards and committees. So thank you, Planning Board, for attending. I very much appreciate your time.
Yeah, I officially move to adjourn the joint meeting of the planning board and the select board.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. It's one of those
By
administrative,
acclamation.
one of those administrative things we have to do.
Okay, great. Now we'll proceed with announcements from the chair. I don't have really anything much except to thank Lauren Franzoni for her dedicated service to the planning board over the last 4 years. She was the person who vacated the seat that we've just appointed Susan Lyman to. And Lauren had a lot of very thoughtful things to input to the planning board, and we appreciate her many years of service. She's moved to North Carolina to join her daughter, who's about to have her first child. So
great.
that's fantastic.
Well, that's really happy news.
Yes. Anyway, we're going to move on to the acceptance of minutes of October 6th.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the minutes of October 6th.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, that's unanimous. Now on to citizens' open forum. Do we have anyone here who'd like to address the select board? State your name and your address.
Kate McNulty on 10 Post Road, and I'm here to take advantage of your camera, sorry, and also folks who are here and who are listening in. We are doing a Fix-It. It's not the Fix-It fair that we've had typically in the past. It's going to be a virtual Fix-It. If you need something, a regular household item, a piece of clothing, a small appliance, if you need something like that repaired and you either don't have the tools or the eyes anymore or, whatever, we would be happy to try to help with that. And I do want to say to people that we don't have experts in particular fields, but we have a lot of people who are very helpful, interested volunteers, people who generally fix things on their own, who basically have come forward to do this. So if the first step in this new process is that you must make a telephone call to either me, my number's on the sheets that are around town, and Ellen Jacobson, who's not here tonight, but is my partner in crime on this, or to the community center. And please do not drop anything at the community center until you've talked to one of us and we've made the match on who can help fix your item. And then we'll actually tell you on the phone who that person is, in case the person needs to call you for more information. And then also we'll say, okay, now bring your item to the community center. And then either Ellen or I will pick it up, we'll get it to the fixer, we'll get it back to the community center when it's all set and let you know that it's been fixed and you can pick it up from there. So thank you for the opportunity to explain that, and it will be running starting October 25th through November 5th. We are getting calls already, which is interesting, but as I say, regular household items. We can't help you with your grandfather clock. There aren't any house calls. So that's how it stands. Any questions? And thank you so much, Select Board and also Community Center and everyone in town who supported this. It's been a lot of fun in the past. It's a really great community building thing, and we really hope that next year we can get back to doing it in person at the Community Center or at the Town Hall in the fall.
Well,
Thank you.
Kate. Thank you, and thank you to your volunteers who help to fix these small appliances and all these items. It's really great that you even developed this, and you've had this going for as long as you have, so thank you so much for your
Thank you.
service.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Kate.
Good luck with it, Katie.
Anyone else like to address the board in Citizens Open Forum? Hearing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. We have an acceptance of a donation to the community center. Darlene McCauley is seeking our permission to accept a donation of a pool table for the community center. I'd like to put a hold on that. And the Board of Health has an Arpa funding request. Tri-Town Health is seeking to hire a single FTE, a full-time equivalent who is specialized in FDA National Retail Food Standards Program. These funds would be used rather than request this amount in operating budget funds. So Lenox's share, this would be broken up between the 3 different towns in Tri-Town Health. Lenox's share would be $30,100.
Hold, please.
Certainly. So we have holds on both items. Should we wait and address both and then pass the consent agenda?
Why don't we do them in order? Just do them and then pass them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So I just want to thank Bob and Jennifer Horn for the donation of the pool table to the community center. Bob Horn was our water department supervisor for a number of years, and he's just relocated with his family to be closer to their families. And he's did a terrific job for the Department of Public Works while he was here. He was an important part of the department, and this was a very generous gift to the community center upon their departure. So we'd like to thank him for that.
Yes. Very generous.
Great.
From a
I got
generous
nothing,
person.
no, it's nice though.
Okay, so shall we pass that one, and then?
Yeah, why don't we vote on that one first?
Okay, so Madam Chair, I would move that we accept the donation to the community center of the pool table by the Horn family or by Bob Horn.
Second. Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. And on to the Board of Health ARPA funding request.
I asked for a hold, and I think Dave did too.
Okay.
I don't have an issue. I just like some more explanation and understanding.
So, I might as well address my question too, which is this an ongoing thing, or is this a one-year thing, or?
So right now it would be a one-year item. Director Willis, of course, is obviously the health director for the 3 different towns, and he's proposing this one position. The total funding requirement would be $70,000. By participating in this program, it opens up the opportunity to run it as a pilot using ARPA funding for this first year, and then possibly obtaining grant funding for future years. There's also additional federal funds coming in current and subsequent years that are strictly to boards of health, where there's an opportunity to fund this. So we have an opportunity to start early and then keep the funding for this particular position, which, you know, in terms of their inspectional needs is greatly needed, but always never rose to the priority of arriving on our operating budgets, and you know, thereby we can have an opportunity to keep this off of the tax rolls moving forward.
I just want to know I read the explanation, but I still don't know, what does the person actually do?
Okay. I don't have a lot of background on the process, quite frankly. I mean, if we wanted to defer to a future meeting to get you know, additional explanation, I'm sure that Jim would be more than willing to do that. But I feel a little underqualified to.
Understood.
Yeah, I mean, from the packet that we were given, it says that This person would be implementing a voluntary national retail food regulatory program standards that are highly effective and responsive food program for regulations of food service and retail food establishments. The goal of the retail program standards is to guide regulatory programs to reduce or eliminate the occurrence of illness from food produced at the retail level, while recognizing that there are different approaches toward achieving this goal. While FDA certification is not currently mandatory, it will be in forthcoming years as the state advances mandatory workforce credentials in Massachusetts under the Special Commission of Local and Regional Public Health Workforce Standards. So this is coming down the pike, and I can see, Chris is informing us that if we can do this with the grant funds that we have through Arpa, we sort of get a jump on it, and we'll have someone in place. And given the fact that we have so many restaurants and resort establishments in the area, this is probably a really good idea.
Well,
I wasn't aware that we had an issue.
that's the thing I'm
Yeah,
kind of with Dave on. So to paraphrase what you said, this is a formal FDA training program as opposed to the informal, whatever that might be, for retail sales of food. So restaurants, coffee shops, what have you.
Right.
And, I mean, it says occurrences of wherever you read,
It's
sicknesses
very
and death.
Yes,
Okay.
right.
I didn't think we in Berkshire County, nor particularly our tri-town area, had much of an issue, and I felt that the inspection of our establishments has been pretty rigorous. And just anecdotally, myself, frequently, many of them feel that they're all extremely well run and clean, and don't feel, oh my God, I wonder what's going on in the kitchen, or anything like that. So I understand that we're talking about getting someone formally trained to do something. I'm not sure I fully understand about how imminent this is or isn't yet. But it also feels like that we're taking advantage of ARPA funding right now to start this, but kind of like once the horse is out of the barn, then when ARPA is not available to pay for it, I just feel like at some point in time, we pay for it. And the final thing I'll say is, I think Jim does a fantastic job. He's clearly overworked and has been for 2 years during the pandemic. If there was any money available or things that we needed to bolster tri-town health on, I would think it'd be pandemic-related things, COVID, whether it be vaccinations or mask safety or other things like that. And this doesn't appear to me, this doesn't scream at me as the number one burning need.
So I agree with what Neil said, but on the other hand, which is always another hand, but I think that what we're trying to do is be more proactive in this area than we are currently. And given that this is in front of us now, you and I both perceive that we haven't had a problem in the past, but God forbid that we do, and we haven't done something like this. So I guess I'm going to definitely be in favor of it, but I hate to spend 30 grand of our money, even if it's coming from the government. But on the other hand, if, as you correctly pointed out, and I agree with it, Jim has done a tremendous job. And if he perceives that there's something here that needs to be done, I'm not going to try to second guess him.
That's probably my ultimate guiding light here, is that this is something that Jim has put some time into requesting, and I trust him very much, so.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's my
Thank you.
sense as well, is that if, the FDA certainly knows what they're going to be presenting. They usually have to have these regulations in place before they mandate FTEs. If there is a special commission for workforce health standards, those are being developed now before they can get the personnel on board. So this is coming. And so I look at this as Jim being proactive, as David mentioned. And if we can get someone in place for the tri-town area that's going to be able to take care of all of the resorts and restaurants and retail establishments locally, I think that that's to our benefit, and if Jim has taken the time to put this before us, it must be a need that he has.
Yeah, I agree. If, nobody likes to see another layer of anything
Right.
involved, but I trust Jim. If he says it's coming down the road, it makes sense. If it's coming down the road, it makes sense to go about it this way.
Right.
There's absolutely no question about that. And so, yeah, I think we should go with it. I agree.
And we're trying to not just get ahead of regulation here, we're also attempting to get ahead of other funding sources in the future too.
Oh, that's true.
Arpa is not gonna be with us forever.
Yeah,
And when it's not, we wanna,
some of the other
we
grants.
want someone else,
Right.
Yeah,
other than ourselves, to fund it.
yeah.
I would think in these days of increasing regulation, if we can get on top of this early on, that's good news.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
All right, let me see how to turn this into a motion. Madam Chair, I would move that we approve Tri-Town Health's request to initiate and engage a full-time equivalent specialized in FDA retail food standards and using ARPA funding in this initial year.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, that passes. Thank you. That was a robust conversation. Now we're moving on to general business. We need to open a public hearing. First, I'm going to read the description, and then we'll take care of that. A representative from National Grid and Verizon is going to be present to request permission to relocate 2 poles on Roaring Brook Road to accommodate a Mass Department of Transportation project. This request has been passed on to Bill Gopp, our DPW chairman, and he agrees with it. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing, and we'll entertain the request.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
Am I conflicted here?
I don't think so.
Because this is relative to poll, I mean,
It's poll
Recuse
relocation.
yourself. I'll just make the motion.
all right, I'm going to recuse myself.
Then there's no question about it.
Then there's no question.
Yeah.
I don't suspect this will be terribly controversial.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so, but
Yeah.
Okay,
But you're right to ask, I think.
thanks.
all right. So this is to open the public hearing.
Okay, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We would be willing to listen to the National Grid Verizon representative at this point. Thank you.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Steve Hayward, National Grid. I have some documents I'd like to hand out if you're willing to accept. So they're just kind of little packets. They have some visuals, and just kind of that first page there is, just wait for these to get handed out and then talk
Thank you.
about it. So the DOT is going to be like replacing the bridge on Groin Road, and in order to do that, we have to move our poles out of the way for their stuff to be able to operate. So we're just asking if we can relocate those poles behind their existing locations.
Sounds pretty straightforward to me. Is it pole number 14 and pole number 13 on the photograph?
I gave them all away, so.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is that I don't understand the damn thing you're talking about, number one. Number two, if Billy Gopp says it's okay, I got as much confidence in Bill Gopp as I have in Jim Willis. So I'm gonna go along with Gopp's recommendation. No reflection on you, it's just that I can look at this, but I can't visualize what the ultimate result would be, looking at it. We're just gonna move a couple poles.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we went through this at town meeting, we presented it, the temporary easements and
Yeah.
everything, so
Right,
this
I
is
remember that. It's pretty complicated.
this is a no-brainer
Okay,
here.
great.
Right,
It's just-
okay.
We're just following through on something we've already approved.
Yep, yep.
Excellent. Well, sounds good to me. I would entertain a motion to approve the project.
I move to approve the petition of National Grid and Verizon New England dated August 20, 2021 to relocate 2 joint-owned poles on Roaring Brook Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you, Neil.
And I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thanks. Good luck.
Thanks for coming in. You had a good cheering section.
That's great.
Take them out to dinner at the Heritage House.
All right, on to the memorandum of understanding for Teamsters Local 404. We have a copy of the MOU in our packets. This is regarding changes to job descriptions in the Department of Public Works. This agreement will be in place through June 30, 2022. Is that correct? I just had a question about that because I thought it was in place through July 30,
So
2020.
the current, the memorandum of understanding will survive the expiration of the current contract. Of course, there is a clause in the existing contract to carry forward the existing arrangement beyond the expiration, but we are going to be, to your point, beginning negotiations of a successor contract, probably over the winter, to pick up on July 1st, 2022. But this agreement would survive that. It would be incorporated in the work standards of the existing contract in any event. So it's the type of thing that would, in theory, be on the table, but during renegotiations of the contract. But since we're proposing it,
It's through this
it not
fiscal
only
year.
will survive the contract, in fact, everyone wants it to,
Great,
so.
thank you for the explanation. Any questions?
There again, Superintendent Gopp has, completely agrees with this. This is the way to do it. It's going to get us through for our water department until we actually fill that position and all. So it's a good move all around.
Terrific.
It is.
And Chris, you're confirming that the not newly created positions, but the promotions or new positions for people, they'll survive the agreement going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, until their expiration date.
No, I understood.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Super.
But we can't crush, wrong, if we renegotiate this, the local 404 agreement ahead of their promotions, I think their promotions,
I mean, in
I'm just wanting their positions to survive.
in good faith bargaining practices, this would have to be on the table now. And
Yeah.
why would we take it off the table? We put it there, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Got it.
But I definitely see the sensitivity, certainly in the current environment, to not want to approve something that could go away before its time. And I can confirm that that's not going to happen here,
That's my concern. I just
Absolutely.
don't want loss of people.
without a doubt. Yeah, that is not going to happen.
Excellent. I would entertain a motion.
Okay. Let's see, Madam Chair, I've moved to approve the memorandum of understanding between the town and the Teamsters Local 404 Union as presented by the town manager and approved by the union.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Excellent. Passes unanimously. Now we're going to listen for a change of manager for East Rood Farm Corporation doing business as the Old Heritage Tavern. They are seeking to change the manager to Rebecca Piccolo. All of the appropriate paperwork has been filed.
I am so delighted, Lori Robbins, to see you all. This is the first time I've seen you in person.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's so good. So I have the pleasure of introducing you to the new change of manager, Rebecca Piccolo. I'm sure many of you know her. She worked for since 2003 for the former owner, James McNinch, that was sold eventually to the new owner, Eastwood Farm, whose principal is Ryan Salem, whose very dear friend is Jane Blanchard, who is currently named as the manager, but there's changes in the works. So what they would need to do is they need to change the manager from Jane Blanchard here, whom I'm sure you all know, to Rebecca Piccolo, whom I'm sure you all know. So we're asking that you approve the change of manager form. She's filed her query, we filed all the applications, and I'm hoping you agree to the change of manager form.
Yes, well, the paperwork looks in order. I don't see any reason why we should not approve this. Everybody's familiar with these two wonderful women in front of us who do the excellent management work that they do. And I would entertain a motion.
I see 3 good women in front of us.
Yes, there are 3 good women, but 2 particular managers and 1 excellent counsel.
Anyway, Madam Chair, I move to approve the change of manager application of East Rood Farm Corporation, doing business as Old Heritage Tavern, dated October 13th, 2021, and further to name Rebecca J. Piccolo as manager of record.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent, thank you so much.
So, Becky, you want to stand up and give a plug for the
Yes, no.
Thank you all very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, we have
Good luck.
one,
We have one more.
we have one more, actually.
Oh,
Yes, we're all getting very excited here. Now, moving on to the entertainment and common victualler licenses. Eastwood Farm Corporation is before us seeking a common victualler license, I can't say that word, as well as an entertainment license for TV, radio, and a jukebox. I think the paperwork is in order, and I don't...
If I may address this is something that had been filed sometime before when the actual liquor license transfer, but the box was not checked off for what the entertainment was. So now we're asking the board to actually approve what's been there forever, but now we got the paperwork properly filed.
So you'll note the date at the top of the application as 3/10/21. However, when it was originally approved, I'm going to recreate this, and you can correct me if when it was originally approved, the type was not filled in, so we filled in the type. There's no change.
Nothing at all.
To what's been there and what we're all familiar with. This is just one of those administrative things that we have to do.
Other housekeeping detail.
Check that box.
Okay, that's housekeeping.
All right.
Madam Chair, I moved, wrong one, excuse me. I move to approve the entertainment and common victualler license for East Rood Farm Corporation, doing business as Old Heritage Tavern.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Unanimously passes. Thank you all. We will see you at the Heritage.
Good luck.
Does anybody have a good pronunciation of victualler?
Victualler?
Common Vic.
Common Vic.
Common Vic.
Common type.
There you go.
Old Road is Common Vic.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And now, we have the outdoor dining Arizona Pizza Company request. Arizona Pizza Company is seeking a permanent license for outdoor dining. They have offered it in an area of their parking lot for the past 2 years with no issues. And there's another little statement here that I can't find. I'm gonna flip my page over. And yes, and that's all I need to talk about. So I think we have someone here to address that.
Good evening, Jeff Lynch, 68 Main Street, counsel for the applicant. It's WLS Restaurant Concepts, doing business as Arizona Pizza. I think everybody is likely familiar with the site at 395 Pittsfield Road. What they're asking for is a permanent establishment of the outdoor dining that they've now been using on a temporary basis. They've had good success and feedback with it during COVID, and obviously it's a hedge against any, hopefully not subsequent problems with COVID. But really it's been a nice addition, and they'd like to make it permanent. It would be 9 tables, seating 36 additional patrons. I anticipate that they'll probably make more permanent barriers towards the parking lot instead of what they have right now as temporary structures. So it's a long-standing business in town, has a great reputation with no incidents on their liquor license, so we'd ask that you approve it.
But we do believe that the barriers in place meet muster with the current
Yes.
ABCC regulations, which have been somewhat liberalized in light of COVID, but they'll be going back in April, which will be the topic of our next agenda item. But in this case, it's on their land, the barriers are sufficient, they'll make improvements to what's there, so the situation will get better in any event. So this is, they're well within their rights under existing standards.
Chris, should we clarify that? Because we're gonna talk about, fogs up every time.
Me too.
You know, we mentioned this last meeting, or maybe 2 meetings ago, that probably most of our restaurateurs are interested in continuing the outdoor dining that's been granted through, you know, rapid measures because of COVID. I think it improves the character of the town, and I think the restaurants and coffee shops and others that utilize it do well with it. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. I realize that's the next discussion, but should we clarify that our subsequent discussion can't modify this?
Yes, I think you just did that, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Fair enough.
so what I was attempting to articulate was that I think this outdoor dining license, in conjunction with the ABCC regulations, is already satisfactory as is.
Mhm.
They'll be making further improvements to their outdoor space, but in terms of our zoning, ABCC, outdoor dining regs, they're already in good standing.
Right.
We'll be having a discussion later about those modifications that either we need to make or that businesses need to make to perpetuate what we've been doing for the last
20 months.
18, whatever number of months it's been since we had our outdoor town meeting, our parking lot town meeting.
Mhm.
But this is different. This is a different thing there. Even if we were to rewind the clock 2 years, this would already pass muster. And I think it's okay to clarify that, as I think we've just done.
Okay.
I do have a question. So, Jeff, when, originally when they got their zoning permit, I'm sure that this was listed as an access and egress, this area here. Does that have any bearing on, do you have to modify their zoning permit because you're losing an access and egress point?
I wouldn't think so. I believe that main entrance will still be used and is still utilized today, and there's no modification to how people enter or exit the premises
Okay.
at all.
I have a question similar to Dave's, and that's, and maybe it doesn't even matter, but it's increasing the number of seats, basically increasing the size of the restaurant. How about parking?
So-
Is that got to be addressed?
So, very astutely, Mary Ellen Deming, when we first submitted the plan, very similar to what is in your packet today, I had actually talked with Mr. Stevens, and I said, geez, your parking is sort of, you know, I had a couple in front of where the tables would be.
Right.
And he says, well, that's how it's currently set up now. And I said, well, why don't we delete those? It just seems to make sense. And after I submitted it, Mary Ellen actually did the math on the required parking spaces and alerted me that we would have fallen a couple short. So what is in front of you now satisfies all the parking requirements with the additional seating there. So it would be helpful not to have that many, but we definitely meet what is required. So we're not looking for any waivers in that regard.
Great.
The only thing while I'm speaking is to just alert the board, if you're not aware, on November 3rd, I'll be back in front of you again with essentially the same application under the ABCC regulations. This is considered an alteration of premises. So I'll need the endorsement of the board again from a liquor license standpoint for this modification.
I have a feeling next year we're going to get used to this
Yes.
process.
I'm good.
Great, thank you for answering the parking question. I know
Yeah.
that was a concern that everyone had.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move to approve the outdoor dining application of Arizona Pizza Company dated September 22nd, 2021.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff. We
Thank you very
appreciate you
much.
being here.
I'm gonna hang and listen to the next conversation.
Okay.
Oh, I want to be front and center for that one.
Great. So finally, we're going to have an outdoor dining discussion. As the ABCC will no longer allow outside drinking and dining as of April 2022, and the town would clearly like to see outside drinking and dining continue because people really enjoy it. We need to look at the way in which establishments are going to reapply each season for an outdoor dining permit. What we're going to do is consider including in town regulations, once an establishment has applied for outdoor dining, that it would become a permanent license for outdoor dining. And it's great that Mary Ellen prepared for us a memo that sort of briefly goes through different aspects of how we're the local licensing authority, and so the bylaw would rest with us and we would have to come up with something. And I'm happy to open the conversation.
Throw it out there, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I think Mary Ellen, again, astutely, has done a pretty good job of laying out a lot of issues on the table, and it's good. It's a very good thing to be having this conversation in October, knowing that our existing arrangements expire in April. So with that being said, there's some stuff to digest here, and if we can establish over the course of the next couple of weeks or so a policy direction that we want to pursue, and then have send staff into motion, establishing the mechanics on how we step by step get to where we ultimately want to be. But it starts with where do we ultimately want to be.
Well, you asked if there was like a policy direction. I guess, I don't know if you could call this a policy, but I am not interested in taking anything away from our restaurants and cafes and our establishments that use outdoor dining. I don't want to hurt our vendors. So, having said that, I'm in favor of finding a way that supports our local ability to grant that. I am in favor of possibly codifying a little bit better, spacing what compromises a barrier, what comprises a barrier, things like that. And I am interested in, I don't really know what I'm asking here. I guess I'm interested in some teeth, so to speak, in being able to police misuse of the approval. There's been very few that have, but some clearly have. And we don't really have a mechanism. I mean, who do we send? The police? Building inspector? I don't know who we send.
That's definitely got to be a final,
Yeah.
one of the things we have to,
We definitely
we have to figure out. I feel that, I think we're all in favor of outdoor dining. It's the greatest thing. Unfortunately, some restaurants don't lend themselves very good to being able to provide that. B&Bs and things like that, they can do it because they got plenty of space. There's a few places in town that have, there's a lot of places in town that have spaces. There's some that don't. So some people are gonna, we just can't accommodate. I don't feel we want to get into leasing the sidewalk to anybody or any kind of thing like that. I think that's just a can of worms, and
I agree.
it's just not going to work, I don't think. So some people are going to feel maybe snubbed or think it's unfair or whatever, but we have to be fair to everybody, and townsfolk and everybody. And we can't just allow things, just because somebody wants it, we can't allow it to happen. We have to have some concrete rules and regulations that say this can happen there.
Yeah.
And this would be something that future restaurants are going to take into consideration when they go to look at a place or build a place or start a place. That's what they're going to be looking for. So it eventually people will fall right into being able to deal with it. But And we just have to be a little careful in the first year.
I think especially given that we've allowed people to be on the sidewalks and, you know, with the 4-foot buffer, it's one thing, but it doesn't really, as you said, it doesn't really make for long-term sustainability for safety reasons. And so I think it's really important that we have some very clear rules moving forward. And like you said, there are going to be some people who might not get what they want. And we have to have something that's got teeth in it, as Neil said, so that we can enforce this. And it can't be, you know, with a 6-day written notice. It's got to be, you know, somebody can go in and tell you that this needs to cease and desist, and it's got to happen. And I think for safety reasons primarily, because we don't want anyone to get hurt. We don't want anything to happen to a pedestrian or a restaurant patron or any of that.
I agree with you on that.
I think that what you gentlemen said is absolutely right on the target. I just think it's a real can of worms to get into leasing town property for restaurant type purposes. We've dodged a bullet these last few years of people having to walk out into the road to get around some of this stuff. I mean, we try to keep our village safe and yet inviting. There's no doubt about it that if people look at our record, we're definitely pro-business and we want to help businesses, and we have helped businesses over the course of the last year and a half, 2 years. But boy, getting into having town property leased and serving alcohol on it, I think we're asking for.
Is this where the meeting is for the butters? Berkshire,
I guess it could be.
They probably thought it was 7,
Yeah.
not 6.
So that's where I stand.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dave,
I want to move forward with outdoors dining for the people who qualify for it, who can do it. But I think that we need to continue discussions, if not, another thought I had, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is to get Jennifer in here and have her, have a chat with Jennifer about what we see happening in April, so that she can tell some of her members and start preparing them so nobody can say, hey, we didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's get that.
Yeah, we got to have the chamber working with us hand in hand.
And she's well aware of this is what's going to
Yeah.
happen, so
Right.
it's no big surprise, but I think we need to share our thoughts with her sooner rather than later.
Yep.
We should probably have a sit down with her. I'm also.
Public safety is the overriding issue.
Yep.
I also have a question about the last paragraph that Mary Ellen included. It was pretty substantial about the $100 sewer impact fee for places that offer outdoor dining services. And then there was an additional $125 application fee. And that the $100 fee is a health department related fee. So I just want to understand why it's $100, if that's adequate, if it needs to be modified, what it's intended to support financially. What are we doing with
It
this?
seems like this was a past attempt to recoup the cost of housekeeping, if you will.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Recoup the cost of housekeeping.
Oh, okay.
I mean, and that's where,
You mean with the trash cans around town?
yeah,
Public trash cans?
Right.
Okay.
and I don't know if that's the appropriate mechanism, but there does need to be something that's better than what we have now, because when I mentioned teeth, one of the areas that has fallen short these past couple seasons is people taking care of their trash.
Right, right.
And like I said, we don't have, we have no enforcement mechanism right now. But to me, I feel that enforcing the trash and cleanliness is important. And I also feel that what I'll call swell has to stop, which is that we say, yep, you can have whatever, 4 tables. And then suddenly over the weekend, it's like, where did 6 tables sit? And it's, No, we just split these, that was one table, we split these into two tables because there's two parties of two, and that to me
That's
is
gotta stop.
more problematic than anything, because we all know the main, intersection that we're talking about, and I cringe every time I drive through that intersection, because people are practically sitting in the road, number one, often with kids that they may or may not be paying attention to. And then it seems that people regard it, as I said it probably maybe a month or two ago, because there's so many people sitting on the sidewalk, I think people practically regard that intersection as like a promenade or something like that. No one crosses the road even close to the crosswalk, so they just wander out willy-nilly whichever way they want to go.
Exactly.
And that to me is the number one public safety concern.
No, I agree with you completely. I mean, that's,
I mean, it only takes one
right,
thing, one
tiny
time,
thing, yep.
for a non-attentive driver and a pedestrian
So I
not
see.
following any rules.
We
Right.
dodged a bullet
Yep,
over the last year and a half.
yep.
We all know exactly what you're talking about, and there's probably one other that kind of does the same. I mean, next year, we have to deal with it. We've been pretty lenient this year and last year. But next year, we will deal with it. We have to deal with it, no question about it.
We're forced to.
I think, bring it from where you started with this impact fee, I'm not sure, I'd have to ask Mary Ellen this, what she was getting at. Is that just a sewer, like a,
More
impact
seats, more
fee?
sewer.
More for sewer, that's what it sounds like,
Okay.
like a hookup fee kind of thing,
Mhm.
which I'm not sure if that's what she's getting at here or not. Sometimes if a place doubles its size, there's an impact on the sewer, and that money is geared towards theoretically to do an upgrade at the treatment plants or the sewer system for the
So
town.
in that-
So I'm not sure if that's what she's getting at or not,
Right.
but those are the things. The garbage is a good thing. I think we have to think about that,
Right.
and there should be, maybe there is an impact fee for that, because, we're paying a guy Saturday and Sunday to walk around town and pick up garbage,
I think it's important that we get
that
some
we
more
didn't ever do
feedback
before,
from-
so we
from
have to
Billy
think
Gubb
about
on
that,
yeah.
Mhm.
Because to me, $100 doesn't really cover
No.
that.
No, a call-in for a person, it
Right.
doesn't cover it at all. So that's one of the things that we have to look at.
Okay, great. So we'll have to speak with DPW, we'll have to speak with the chamber and get some partnership with them and, discussing how we're gonna move forward on this. And then I think what we shall do is talk to public safety, because we really want them to be partners in this and helping us lay out, where we definitely don't want to see activity, because there is already a great deal of activity at Housatonic Church. And
Right.
that's a very important intersection that we need to ensure does not become overcrowded.
I agree with you there, but I guess where I think Dave and I are thinking the same way here, I don't want public safety to feel obligated to suddenly enforce new rules that they didn't enforce before on restaurateurs that are not following the rules or cleaning up their trash. But because you brought that up, just totally coming from a totally different direction here. Maybe Jen Nocht can help us with what the economics are, what the value to the restaurants are in terms of additional tables, what the tax revenue to the town is. What if it was actually beneficial tax-wise? What if it was feasible tax-wise, I should say, to have a traffic cop at that intersection that stopped the jaywalking and did a better job of controlling the cars?
I think that's something to consider for sure. What Jeff presented tonight, obviously more seats, more revenue, more taxes, I agree. But, I really think that most of these places were purchased well before COVID hit, and they were doing well.
Mm-hmm.
With the advent of COVID, which limited inside seating, we took the opportunity to move some of that out so that we could be business friendly and help our folks. assuming that we're back to normal, some normalcy anyway, by next April, we're going to go back to what it was pre-COVID. And if these restaurants were profitable before COVID, but with the number of seats that they had indoors, perhaps they'll continue to be profitable. I know what you're saying about increased capacity might generate more dollars, but an officer for the summer is $50,000 bill.
No, I get that.
Even on rainy days when nobody's around. You know,
Yeah.
it's in Tuesdays and Wednesdays when you don't need anyone. So I think we should self-police that somehow, those situations.
Right.
I think we'd have to raise a lot of revenue to pay for it.
Let's see what the chamber's thoughts are on it.
That's all, I would never suggest that we
Yeah.
spend the money if it's not there.
Yeah, but I meant more from the standpoint of public safety. Those, you know, the police and fire department know that intersection. So I think that they should be discussing this with us insofar as, you know, there should not be pedestrians or seated persons within, you know, the 4 feet of the curb. And, you know, now that COVID is over and or hopefully if COVID's over and people can go back to the way their restaurants were performing prior to COVID, you know, you shouldn't need all of that seating anymore. You can have some seating, but what we've had to this point has been extraordinary, and we're going to have to pull that back.
We're being forced to pull it back.
Right, right.
We don't have a choice.
Well, we're being forced to, or we're gonna have to institute some new bylaws if we're going to allow it, but I don't think allowing it on town property,
Oh, I agree.
the way we have been,
I agree.
is a great idea.
No.
The one restaurant we're talking about, if we just go back to pre-COVID, what they were allowed, X amount of tables, they made I think they made a good living. They stayed there for a long, long, long time.
Mhm.
They're back to where they were. No harm, no foul.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, I think having the support of public safety
Oh,
to,
yeah.
you know, say
yeah.
that, you know,
You're
this,
right.
this is the safest way to manage this intersection, or these intersections, or these paths of egress, that's important.
I hear what you're all saying, and I tend to agree. And safety in an intersection remains my number one priority. But I'm just asking rhetorically, and I'm not expecting anyone to have an answer tonight, but I mean, yes, we could go right back to where we were, and most of those restaurants seem to be successful. I mean, there's always been some areas that seem to have a lot of turnover, but I don't know that any of them are the ones really taking large advantage of the outdoor seating right now anyway. But I'm just asking rhetorically if there was a way that there was a hybrid model, that we didn't have to like revert back to
Mhm.
the way it was before COVID, and could take on self-regulation in some way. Maybe people like Jeff can get creative and find a way to take that authority back to the town. And I'm not suggesting leasing our sidewalks to restaurants or anything like that, or the extent to which it's happening now, because we have been dodging a bullet, I do believe. But if there a way to be a little proactive, that wouldn't be a terrible thing.
Well, like the dining terrace has been a great idea, but I don't know what the use has been for that particular area. And that would be interesting to find out if we have any statistics, if the chamber has gathered any statistics on the use of that, and to speak to you know, the people who allowed us to use that over the last 2 summers, and find out if that's something that they'd like to move forward with.
Isn't it under different ownership now?
I don't know. I really don't know. So this also brings up, you know, parking issues that we have in town, and, you know, the ability to do other things that we need to / want to do in town. So this is good. This will start the conversation, I think, on a number of levels. But we clearly, I think sitting down with DPW and the chamber will help us get to some of these things.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good discussion, I think. I think we raised a lot of points that's going to be helpful to
Yeah.
Chris to start moving forward with things.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. And we'll start taking what we've received from this discussion and start putting pen to paper on trying to form a little bit of specifics, because everybody's gonna wanna know, okay, it's great to have a discussion and understanding first principles, what the theory is, but what does it actually look like? And that's something that I think staff certainly owes you, as you consider all the different options in front of you.
But our thanks to Mary Ellen for preparing this memo, because it's really gotten the conversation going.
Great.
Yeah, she did a good job.
She did a great job. She should be complimented for it.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, it's come to my attention, ironically, it's 7 o'clock of all time, a traditional meeting time, and we actually have two abutters who've come in. This is relevant to the pole placement on Roaring Brook Road that we had discussed earlier, and I mean, it seems appropriate to hear any concerns that folks might have, being that it's 7 o'clock now. So I oh, I'm sorry. I'm just letting. Oh, we.
Arlene, come up to the mic and tell us what's
I think you said something to me.
yeah, come up to the mic, Arlene, and just, state who you are, because they're on camera, and just tell us what your concerns are.
Hello, microphone. Do you work? Does it work?
Yeah, it works, yeah.
Good. I don't know why we're here. Aren't we supposed to hear something from you folks?
So we had a discussion earlier before you got here about pole placement on Roaring Brook Road.
It said 7 o'clock. So
Right.
You guys are ahead of time?
I think, yeah, and I think the letters that
Come on over here, I'm just gonna show you, I believe
letters
that
that we
you're
sent
a
out did
butters.
say, I think 7.
I believe that you're a butters. I don't know if you live in one of these two houses, but National Grid is proposing to replace this and this pole, and to move a new one here and a new one here in order to do a road project. So those are the two poles that are proposed to move.
Oh, okay. So that's on the other side?
They're both on this, I believe, on this side of the road. One is going to move back 8 feet 4 inches. The other one will move back 5 feet.
They're not on our side then?
Yeah.
No, they're not down near you, Arlene. They're right where they're doing the work on the bridge.
Sorry?
They're right where they're doing the work on the bridge.
Right.
Yeah, they just have to move them a little bit so they can do the work.
Are they moving ours, Jim? We put a pole in when we built the
No,
house.
as far as I know, they're not.
Yeah.
We've got underground utilities all
But
over.
yeah, they're just going to move those
So they
two
got a
poles
project
back so that they can do the road work that they need to do. And if you live in these two homes, they won't be affected.
I live in the new one, whatever the newest one.
Okay.
Yeah, you're down on the other side of the
So is
street
this-
from there.
Is this coming in off East New Lenox?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Okay.
Arlene, if you come in off East New Lenox, okay, here's where they're doing the bridge.
Yeah,
Okay, you're down here.
yeah,
Okay, the old homestead is over here,
yeah,
and the new house is here. They're up in this area up here.
okay.
So it's not the ones that
It's
run by
nothing
you.
to do with us.
No, they're gonna do a little clearing down here.
Wonderful.
They're gonna do a little clearing down here, some brush and stuff like that. They got temporary
Yeah.
easements for that.
The only thing I ever had for a problem with that is our septic's in the front yard. And I've expressed that to the engineer, you
Yeah.
know, when they came by.
Well, you see
And
any
that was
heavy
the
equipment
only
out there,
thing.
if you see heavy equipment out there, you go tell them.
You know, and the other thing is we got water coming across from the other side of the street. All that heavy equipment's gonna affect it.
Yeah.
I know that, you know, so, I don't know, we gotta play.
Well,
it by
we'll have oversight on the whole project. We'll have oversight on the whole project, and, the person doing the work, the company doing the work will have to make sure that everything is good when it's done. They'll leave you with a good product.
The
Okay.
funny thing of it is.
I thought
they
we were
just
coming to listen to you
break
guys
that
tell us
pole out.
something different.
No.
Thank you anyhow.
Okay.
Sure.
Our neighbors said they.
I'm all set then. Thank you very much.
Great, no
Thank
problem.
you.
Thank you for coming.
Sorry, we haven't viewed that yet, so, yeah. All right.
Okay,
All right, sorry about the confusion there.
It's all right, I've been confused all my life.
No, I think this one's on, I think this one's on us, so.
We go around the plate by ear. Thank you, everybody.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks for doing that, Chris. I think that was
Sure,
appropriate.
I apologize
Oh,
for
that's great.
changing things up.
That's okay. All right, well, that's it. We've reached our limit on the outdoor discussion regulations. And now I would entertain a Board of Selectmen liaison reports.
I got nothing.
Okay.
In the interest of brevity, I'll very quickly say that the school building committee has formed. We've met, we've established a meeting schedule that now looks like it's in flux because we were going to meet in advance of select board meetings. We've changed our time frame, so I'm unable to give anybody good guidance on. I know we're meeting next week at 6 p.m. here. Other than that, I don't know we're trying to time it with select board meetings.
Okay.
But I don't think everybody on our board can do an early enough meeting to be in advance of select board meetings, so we're a little,
Yeah.
we're not there yet, right?
Okay.
Schedule-wise.
Gotcha. Thank you. I'm just going to announce that there is a vacancy for a permanent position on the Zoning Board of Appeals. If anyone out there in Lenox is interested in being on the Zoning Board of Appeals, please write a letter to the Select Board stating your interest. You can address that to selectmen@townoflenox.com. It would be great to have several candidates from which to choose. That would be fantastic. We'd like to fill this position, of course, as quickly as possible, but we're probably going to let it's been vacant for a while. I think we're going to let it go for about another 30 days, and hopefully we'll get some applications. We also need a Berkshire Regional Transportation Authority representative. If someone would like to entertain the thought of dealing with that, that's a monthly meeting. That's about an hour and a half once a month. And again, please write a letter of interest to the selectmen@townoflenox.com, and we would be happy to entertain your candidacy. Otherwise, Dave, anything?
I do not.
Okay, Warren? Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. Our next regular meeting will be Wednesday, November 3rd at 6 p.m. I also want to just quickly say that trick-or-treating through the community center is going to be on Friday, October 29th from 5:30 to 7. There's a trunk or treat showcase and a children's parade, so you can check it out with Darlene McCauley at the community center. And then Lenox trick or treat will be on October 31st from 5:30 to 7 p.m. throughout the neighborhoods in Lenox. Have a great time.
Madam Chair, I would I would make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.